Yes, hello, everybody. I'm Anna McHenry, and I actually am the Developmental Disabilities and Behavioral Health Coordinator, and I work out of Public Health. I also staff the Jefferson County Accessible Community Advisory Committee, which I'm very happy to do. It's always been one of my favorite groups. Our chair is Patrick Johnson, who is here today, and we have a co-chair, which is Kim Rafferty. So we formed in 2015, and this is the Governor's Committee on Disability Issues and Employment in Olympia. They started the ACAC Communities Act, and Jefferson County was the first to receive approval to access funding. We love our logo there. So what happened was Toby Olson, who is a past executive secretary, came up with the idea to create grants by accessing $100 of every ticket issued for if someone's parking in an accessible parking spot illegally, it's about $450. And so $100 is accessed from every municipality in the state. And all those funds are pooled together. And then each county is able to access those grants once they pull their own accessible community advisory committee together. And as I said, Jefferson County was one of the first to access the funding. So I guess we're just a little hungrier here in our county. So locally, our ACAC is staffed by me under Public Health on behalf of the Jefferson County Board of County Commissioners. We have a wonderful membership. It consists of community members, people who experience disabilities. We have people who work and volunteer in the field who are a parent of an adult with a disability. Here's our wonderful list of members. I feel like we're pretty well rounded, which I am very appreciative of. And we have a very, our board, our committee is very hands-on, which I really appreciate too. And our newest member is actually Richard Tucker, and we definitely appreciate everyone. So sorry, I need to move forward here. So since 2016, we received about $183,185.05 in funding for ACAC grant projects. And these projects need to promote awareness and acceptance of people who experience disabilities. And we do that through education, access, and trying to remove barriers. And some of the projects that have been funded, they are for people with mobility issues, hearing loss, low vision, and other access issues. We've completed projects in Port Townsend, Tri-Area, Coyle, Quilcene, and Brennan. Looks like Port Ludlow is the only spot in our county where we haven't actually reached them yet. So here's an overview of a few of the projects. And we were able to create ADA access at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds by providing some ADA parking. We did a threshold replacement for the commercial building and a new sidewalk to the restroom. And we've also worked with Dash to create their website to make it more accessible. And we've helped them update their brochures, which are wonderful for more accessibility in our community. There's a restaurant guide, a map of Port Townsend, and a cultural venue guide, and they're all ADA accessible. The Coyle Community Center, we did some ADA parking and ADA entry doors, and those grant funds were matched, as well as ADA exit doors and bathroom doors. And you have to remember, this is over a period of 7 years. This did not occur all at once. At Chetzemoka Park, we improved the ADA paths to the restroom. We created an accessible signage kiosk for the restroom too. Port Townsend City Hall, assistive listening devices and staff training. And these grant funds were matched at 50%. Public Health, ACAC grant funds were matched again at 50% for assistive listening devices and staff training. The Fort Worden PDA, again, they were matched and more assistive listening devices. Project Lifesaver for Jefferson Search and Rescue. We paid for 10 Project Lifesaver transmitter bands, batteries, and replacement parts. And that is for people who wander, people who have dementia, or it could be people with autism. And has definitely been a lifesaver. Fort Worden State Park, we purchased a free accessible beach wheelchair and a beach walker. And it's free, which is really nice. And the beach wheelchair and walker are housed at the Fort Worden State Park Canteen. Here's a number of other completed projects, and a lot of these funds were matched. We have ADA accessible doors at all the community centers now and public health. In Quilcene, we created an accessible path in the school garden for students who had access needs. We worked with the YMCA and purchased books about kids and disabilities for their literacy program. And then we also purchased some JUMP marketing materials for the Jefferson Universal Movement Playground. We've completed lots of other educational projects, People First Language rack cards, respectful language when speaking or writing about someone with a disability, gatekeeper outreach rack cards, and those are with O3A that we partnered with. Just information on if there's changes in a neighbor's behavior that might indicate the need to consult with a professional. A service animal brochure that was actually written by Shirley Williams and Sue Amater. Sue Amater has since passed away. She was one of our founding members of our ACAC. It's a definition of a service dog animal compared to an emotional support dog. And then we worked with the Department of Emergency Management on creating an emergency preparedness brochure for the medically fragile, or for people with functional access needs who need to think about planning and doing some support beforehand, before a disaster occurs is what I mean. So we also co-sponsored a number of movies, and that was with the Port Townsend Film Festival. And all of these movies were documentaries that dealt with disability issues, and that was very powerful. We also have recently gotten a grant that will purchase an informational video and materials about no more stigmatization of mental health issues, and that's in partnership with our local NAMI. Back in 22, we were also trying to, the Land Trust was working on improving I'm so sorry, I lost me. Okay, there we go. On improving an accessible trailhead. That one was not granted, but we are looking at we put that back in, and we're hoping that it's going to get funded this time around. We also got purchased an ADA specific playground item called the Serenity Spot, and that was in partnership with the new JUMP playground. And then for Centrum, some listening devices. This is what the Serenity Spot looks like out at the JUMP playground. And it's just a partially enclosed space for children with sensory issues where they can find some respite. And you can see that there's some spinners on the side.
We lost your slides, Anna, or at least I can't see it.
Oh, all right, let me go back and share again. Sorry. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for letting me know that. And that's Sarah Grossman, who's the president of JUMP. And Sarah was the one who wrote the ACAC grant for the Serenity Spot. And it's exciting actually to see it up at the playground right now. And Sarah could talk about that playground. So we actually recently worked with the YMCA and also the Jefferson County Aquatic Coalition to create an accessible changing area at the Mountain View Pool for kiddos and adults with disabilities. And just some portable partitions and a wall-mounted shower changing table and some commodes. So people with access issues and children are able to more comfortably access the pool. So what's next is anyone out there listening, if you have an idea for an ACAC project, you can reach out to Patrick Johnson, who is our our chair, I'm sorry, or Kim Rafferty, who's our co-chair. And I just want to say that the public health and members of our Jefferson County ACAC, we're excited about the impact these projects have had in our community and will continue to have. Thank you so much for letting me share.
And thank you so much, Anna, for doing that. We appreciate it. And Anna just kind of worked ahead and did a deeper dive. So our next panelist, we're going to invite to do the same thing, to share a little bit about who she is and why she joined her organization and then what the organization does. So take that deeper dive. And next up on the panel is Nancy Johnson, and Nancy is with DASH, Disability Awareness Starts Here. Nancy, it's all yours.
So I'm Nancy Johnson, and I'm from DASH. I've been a member for probably about 5 years. DASH is a nonprofit organization in Jefferson County. We bring in money from ACAC grants, and actually Anna kind of explained some of the projects that we've had, that we've done. I became aware of the need for promoting inclusion of people with disabilities when my sister was living at Life Care Center and my grandson is in a wheelchair. I became aware of how difficult it was in Port Townsend to access some areas, and it still is actually. For example, if you go into a restaurant, they may have an accessible door for getting in, but the person with a disability may not be able to get into the bathroom. So it's been a real learning experience for me. Nancy Villagran is a member of the Jefferson County Council of the Blind and DASH, and I really was not as aware as I should have been about the challenges that people have that can't see very well. So I became involved with DASH, and I thought it was really an interesting organization. Its main purpose is to provide information to businesses and governmental agencies about ADA requirements. We have a measuring tape and level and other things that help us do those assessments. So a business will ask us to come in and, for example, and do an assessment, and we will do that and then write up a report for them. So most businesses and governmental agencies really want to be welcoming to people with disabilities, and this gives them an opportunity to see what they can do better. I had a friend who had an interesting thing to say that I thought I'd share with you, and his idea is that we are TADS, and TADS means temporarily able-bodied individuals. And he's exactly right. I mean, I know that many people have temporary issues, for example, with a broken leg, and they are on crutches and find it difficult to get in, or they have more permanent disabilities. Throughout the year, we've helped improve access in governmental and agencies and businesses. The only thing that we haven't been successful with is the post office. And we've been working for like 10 years to try to make it so that people can get into the post office who have disabilities, because if you've ever gone up those steps, even if you're able-bodied, it can be somewhat of a challenge. Unfortunately, the post office has Architectural Barriers Act protection, so that they made up the rules and then they exempted themselves. So we have worked with our Congress people and with the post office trying to resolve this issue unsuccessfully. Other than that, we have really had success in many areas. We do, as Anna said, we do publish guides and accessibility map for uptown and downtown, and then also for accessible trails. We have worked with the Land Trust recently. They are developing a trail and they wanted some input. So they were kind enough to really be responsive to developing the trail in a way that works for everybody. Some other events or activities that we've done is we realized that the roundabout that is going to be built on Kearney and Sims, that the state really needed some input about how they could make the sidewalks more accessible to people so that it wasn't quite so scary to go across the sidewalk if you either had any kind of a disability or you just were getting older and needed some more time to get across the street. So we had an event at the Sims and Rainier Street roundabout that included members of the State Board of Transportation and the City of Port Townsend. And we actually blindfolded those people, and then an able-bodied person led them across the street. And let me tell you, it was a real learning experience for those people, because none of us really understand very well what it's like not to be able to see very well, or not to see at all. And then we realized that with the able-bodied people, it was actually even scary for us to go across those sidewalks. We were fortunate that we all had on yellow vests, and so the traffic did stop for us. But nonetheless, it was a real learning experience for me and for them on how people everybody needs to be considered when they're planning those things. And we were involved in the planning process, and they actually were very helpful, and we'll see how it all comes out. We were involved with advocating for better access to the hospital and a bench by Sheridan, which would allow everybody to be able to sit down. We were involved in the Discovery Road project with the city on consulting with them on things like the slant of the side of the sidewalk, so that people were more able to use that. So all people were more able to use that and not fall off the sidewalk. So we did work also in conjunction with the biking community, because we realized that that's really important too. The handrail at Holler Fountain Stairway was a bit of an issue, because when the city had redone that, there wasn't a handrail that was available for the first two steps. And so you kind of had to reach out to get to the handrail, and that was kind of scary for a lot of people. So the city did fix that, So that was much appreciated. We are, as I said, are a nonprofit, and really most of our money does come from the ACAC, from grants. We do not charge a membership fee to join DASH. There are ways to become involved both on a, excuse me, both on more of a long-term project of being on the board, and then also short-term projects, because we realize that not everybody has the time or wants to commit to a long-term project. And not everybody likes to sit through meetings. So we met, in fact, with the Key Club yesterday at the high school, who may be able to provide some assistance in short-term projects. It is a way for you to learn more about just how we do our assessments and what's involved with consulting with agencies and businesses. So we're not here to ask for money. We are actually more interested in volunteers. You can become involved. You can go to our website, if you check out the chat area, our website is on there, and you can indicate your interest in becoming involved. And anybody who would like to have more information, please let us know.
Nancy, thank you so much for this. It's really informative. I want to remind you that we're going to have questions after our last panelist. So
Right.
please put them into the chat. Feel free to do that. Some questions have come in through Facebook. Our next presenter is from ECHO, the Ecumenical Christian Helping Hands organization, and that is Nancy Budd Garvin. Nancy, it's all yours. I wonder if Nancy's having some challenges now.
I don't know if she,
I'm sorry,
There you go.
forget the mute button. What I'd like to do this morning is just tell you a little bit more about ECHO. How many of you have heard of ECHO? Oh, a good number of you. I'm so pleased. And how many of you who have heard of as a place to go get medical equipment when you need crutches and wheelchairs and stuff like that? Nancy and Anna and Sarah and Nanscape. Great. How many of you know about our free transportation program? Oh, I'm very impressed. You're far more in the know than a lot of people, but thank you for your contribution. I just really then, with those of you who are familiar with us, perhaps the best thing for me to do is to talk a little bit about where we are now. We do have the two programs, transportation and equipment lending. And I'll first talk about our transportation program, because that's the one where, as I think many of us probably would attest, we could use more volunteers. And we are looking for people who are willing to help out, if only for one drive a week or one drive a month. We're really eager to find people who are willing to help out a fellow, a neighbor, a fellow individual in circumstances that maybe you've once been in, that needs to get to a medical appointment or a physical therapy appointment, sometimes a surgery or a surgical procedure. Sometimes any type of therapy or anything that relates to getting access to the health care people need. These are mostly people who cannot drive at the present time because of some infirmity, some handicap, and very many of them are women who live alone. There is a significant percentage of people in our county who do live alone, and of that, the vast majority are women. And we sometimes refer to them as elder orphans, which is a kind of sad thing to think about. It's women, most of whom are seniors, who are going through some of the rigors of aging, but without family nearby to come over and help with this, or, take you here if you need it, or take you to therapy if you need it. So that's where Echo comes in. We are really a helping hands organization, as our acronym suggests. We have a core of volunteers, and they are drivers. They're people who like to drive. They're people who like to have a conversation with another individual and learn about their background and their life experience. So it's a very uplifting and enjoyable situation to offer to give a ride to an individual, and it makes that person possible to pursue the kind of medical care and therapies that they may need to continue to live on their own and thrive and be successful at being able to age in their own home, which is a big thing for all of us. I'm sure we all are aware of either friends, neighbors, mothers and fathers, perhaps, and other relatives and friends who all of a sudden something happens. There's a broken hip. There's a joint replacement surgery. There's some sort of an accident, a fall. And it creates a situation where that person can no longer safely stay in their own home unless they have some help. And for those people, Echo is one of the lifesavers, along with people who provide in-home care, which we do not. But we're the ones who can get that individual to the doctor's appointments, to the therapy appointments, and help them get back home or stay at home the whole time they may be dealing with this new handicap or infirmity. What helps them also is obviously we have the equipment, such as walkers and wheelchairs, even lift chairs, to help people be able to get around both in their own home and to go out to do essential errands and medical appointments. We do take people to grocery stores every week to help them get their groceries. So again, we support people staying at home because that's what all of us want to do as we get older. All of our services are free of charge. So people do not have to be able to pay anything, nor do we go through what I would call a rigorous qualification process. You don't have to prove that you're at a certain income level. You just have to, we have to be sure that you don't have access to another way to go, because our volunteers are very precious commodities and their hours are very precious as well. Just in a 12-month period that ended just this September, I mean, our volunteers drove over 42,000 miles. And think about that. I mean, that's 10 times across the country, over and back. That's a lot of miles, especially when the vast majority of our rides are just to and from Port Townsend locations. But we also do something that no other transportation capability in our county can do, and that's to help people get to medical facilities and appointments in places like Poulsbo or Silverdale or Sequim, Port Angeles, and very importantly, Seattle, and some rides to Tacoma. But we do take people into Seattle for appointments. So we are the only service that can do that. The buses and the other transportation services, they pretty much stop at the county line, or they manage to get you across the county line, but then you're there and you're not where you need to be, and you've got to figure out a way to get to the facility that you need to go to. We are door to door, and that means we go to the individual's house. We may, if they need it, escort them to the car. We make sure that they're safely into the car. And if they have a helper or a caregiver that needs to come with them, we take care of them too. And then we drive them straight to where their medical appointment is. And then we escort them into that facility to make sure that they easily and carefully and comfortably find where they're supposed to go. I mean, just think about, people who are sight impaired, which many seniors are with macular degeneration and various other things. If you get left off at the door of one of these larger medical facilities and you can't read the directory, and you can't even read the signs that tell you the elevator is this way, then it really is a very big struggle to try to get from the front door to where you need to go. So we make sure all of that happens, and it happens comfortably and carefully and with a great deal of fun and conversation and kind of comfort for individuals, especially who live alone, may not have talked to anybody in a week. So that's what we do in our transportation program, and we will eagerly welcome anyone who would like to become a volunteer. You only need to drive like one drive a week or whatever you can do, and you can pick your own rides. So you can decide if you want to go to Poulsbo or Silverdale. Maybe you've got some shopping to do, or you want to go to Costco and swim. You pick a ride that's going to take somebody to swim, and you can do your shopping while they're in their appointment. So it really is made to be as convenient as possible and give you all of the individual choice that you might want to have. So that's our transportation program. The equipment program, these have been going on for more than 25 years. We just celebrated our 25th anniversary. And our equipment program, as many of you know, it gives people the equipment they may need on a temporary basis. If you've got a joint replacement or you have some sort of surgery that you've been involved with, or there's an illness that you're grappling with for a while, you might need some extra mobility capability. We have all of that equipment that you need to get into and out of a bathroom safely when you are having mobility issues. And we also have some specialized things like knee scooters, which are great for people who may have had surgery on one limb, but this gets you around a lot faster. Some of our younger clients tend to use things like that. And of course, there are lots of things for mobility use, so that can happen inside the house or when you need to leave. Our equipment lending program is also totally free of charge. We rely upon people who may have had to use some equipment and no longer need it. They donate it to us, and we are then able to turn around and help somebody else who's going through a need for a mobility or equipment or some sort of, I would say, kind of sick room support. We depend on people to donate the equipment, and then after they're finished using it, they bring it back to us. We totally, clean it and disinfect it, and then we lend it out to the next person who also needs it for a while. People can borrow our equipment for long term or for short term. And the other part of that situation is that we're the only transportation agency that has drivers that are allowed to pick up clients who've been through a certain surgical procedure. And remember, they tell you you need to bring somebody with you, if you're going for one of those kind of intrusive tests or other things. We're one of those people. We're an agency that our drivers are recognized as an agent who can properly make sure that individual gets home safely and competently from any kind of a procedure. So that's kind of an overview of what ECHO is all about. And so at this point, I'll turn it back over to Arlene, and then I hope we can talk a little bit more as questions may come up about what ECHO